This is the web application exercise in Java. I have the project open in Visual Studio Code along with the README file. For this video, we're going to be focused on Objective 1. I'm not going to do Objective 2 as a part of this video. It is worth doing, and I recommend doing some internet research on your own and using these instructions to figure out how to deploy the final version to Tomcat. Definitely worth learning, worth knowing. We're going to be focused on getting the test to pass and then being able to run the application in a web browser. So that's our focus today. I do have the project open. Everything looks like it is Java ready. So let's start off by running the tests. We should get a failure. And we do. And we're getting the failure I would expect, which is the HTML content returning doesn't contain the word testing in reverse. So let's take a look at the test really fast, see what's going on, and we'll dive into the code. In the test, we are going to a browser emulator. This is a mock MVC object that's provided by the Spring framework, and it's used to make requests to the web server, emulating or simulating what a browser might do, except that we don't have actual UI. So we're going to perform a post to the URL /, which is the home page. It basically means anything in front of that is the domain, whatever domain that is, lucentary.com, microsoft.com, doesn't matter. / says the root folder, and in that, no file means whatever the default file is there. It's usually an index file. Sometimes it's called default, but usually it's called index. But this is the URL, the relative URL for the home page. We are doing a content type of application form URL encoded. This is a form post, so this is a button click on a web form. And the content we're sending is text equals testing. This is saying there's some control, probably a text box, on the page with the name of text. Name is a hidden attribute value behind the HTML. It's not displayable to the user. The value in that text box that the user may have typed or selected is the word testing. So this is basically saying the user typed the word testing, and then because we're doing a post, they click the submit button. We return that result. We're getting the response and making sure that the status is at 200 and that the content, the string HTML content, contains the word testing in reverse. So this isn't working right now. We need to dive in and figure out why it's not working. So as I mentioned, we're using Spring Framework as a part of this. So diving in, there's a couple of files we're going to need to look into and potentially change. The first is in the resources folder under main. Under templates, there's home.html. In addition, under Java, looking at the code under web, there's the home MVC controller. The home MVC controller, you'll notice that it has a request mapping of /, so that's what's routing the request. So this is intercepting the request. This is going to process both gets and posts. So we're going to do both a get and a post depending on what comes in. We'll respond to either here as a part of this method. The name of the method is not that important. What is important is we're returning the string home. What returning a string does is it says find the HTML file with this name. So this is going to look for home.html. And it's going to render that. And that's why we go to the home.html file. This is the file that's actually rendered out. And you'll notice it does not have the word testing in reverse. So what we need to do now is we need to create a form in the HTML here. And then in the controller, we're going to need to grab that form data, get the text, reverse it, and send the reverse text back to the web page so that we can display it. This happens to use Timeleaf. You can see that here with th=timeleaf.org. Timeleaf is basically an engine, a rendering engine as a part of Spring Framework that we can do Java-style code to do some rendering. And so we're going to use that as a part of this process. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create our form. So after the H1, let's go ahead and create a form. Action equals /. Now I can leave this off and it'll default to the same page, but I'll go ahead and leave that in. And we'll say method equals post. Now we'll notice that it's trying to help us out and it's not correct. So I'm not going to listen to its information. I'm going to type this manually. The next thing we need is an input element. Now this is going to map from, let me get back to the test file. This is going to map from the test file. We need something with the name of text. So let's create an input element. The type will be text. The reason it's a text, a type equals text, is a text box. So input can be several different things. It could be a checkbox, a radio button, it could be email address, it could be a date, so lots of different types of controls. Text is going to be just a simple text box where they can type anything. The name is what now needs to be text. Name equals text. This is the name of the value, or the name of basically the content that we're sending back. So this text and this text need to map. So there's that. Now I'm also going to need input. I'll need a submit button. I can do a type of, I can do an input with the type of submit, or I could do a button with the type of submit. I'll just do an input type of submit. That's fine. And I'll leave it blank so it'll be the default text of whatever that happens to be. So this is our form. This will now post this text value here to the web page, to the server side. So in the server side, what we're going to need to do now is we're going to need to get the information out of the incoming request. There are several ways to do this. I'm going to do something called model binding. I'm going to create a class that basically represents that text, represents the information coming in to grab it out of that. So to do that, there's a few things that we can do. Let's create a class, public class home request. So this is just a simple class. We'll need a field that will be the text. We can create a constructor. I'm just going to go ahead and create my properties, my getters and setters. So public string get text return. That's exactly right. I'm going to one-line this. And then we'll do the opposite, text equals value. So now we can get the value and set the value coming in from basically from the post. From that, we're going to need to get this object into the arguments in home. So there's a couple ways to do this. Again, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a class called a model. It's the org.springframework.ui version. So I'm going to use model, and then home request, we'll call it request. The name doesn't really matter, but we'll call it request. So model is a part of Spring. Home request is my class. I'm going to end up needing both of these. So now let's look and see what we do. What we're going to need to do is get the text out. So we'll say var text equals request.getText. This getText is this method we created up here. So this gets it out. The setText is called automatically by the form post. That's going to happen as a part of Spring Framework. It's going to call the center force automatically. All we need to do is get the value out. Now that we have that, we'll create the reverse text. So this will be, I'm not going to worry about null. Certainly I could test for null. We'll just do a simple new string builder. Given the text, dot reverse, not repeat, reverse dot to string. So there's our reverse text. So we've now done most of the work. We have a form post that is going to come in. We're going to get the text. We're going to reverse that text. Now we need to send that text back to the HTML file. We do that through this model class here. So we'll say model.addAttribute. We're going to need to give it a name. Oops. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it reversed text. You can call it anything you want. Actually, let's do something different. Let's call it reversed, just to make sure it's different than the variable we're passing in, just so we can see how all of this plays out. So the name is going to be reversed. The value is what's in the variable reverse text. This now gets passed back to the web page. So we can use this through some time leaf syntax. So I'll make this show up after the form. We'll create a p tag. And oh, it's helping us out. This actually looks pretty close to what we're looking for. So if, this allows us to basically say if the reverse, so this reversed is the name here. These have to match. So whatever I chose for the name of the attribute, that has to be used directly in the time leaf syntax. So if reverse is not equal to null, then this is going to render. We'll say reverse text colon, and then again, we'll use the th text to say the text is going to bind to the value of reversed. So I think this is looking good. Let's run the test and see if we've made some progress or if we've even passed. There we go. We've got everything wired up. So again, let's review. We've got our form. This name text must match what's happening in the test here. The value is going to get entered in, and then that's going to get passed to our model coming in. Our model, then, we're going to get that text value. We're going to reverse it, and we're going to add it to the Spring Framework model class as an attribute called reversed. We'll head back to the home HTML file. We're going to check if reversed exists, and if it does, we'll render reverse text with the value of reversed. There's quite a few things going on here. If you were not able to follow along, I do recommend you can go back and rewind it, but also take a look at some internet examples. Basically search for Java Spring Framework example post. And you may want to throw a time leaf in there as well. You should get quite a few examples in there to try to see how things are working. Definitely take some time to look through that. All right, as a final exercise, and I'll give myself just a couple minutes to see if we can do this, it'd be nice if we could actually run this and see it in a browser. So let me go to our main application. I'm going to run this. All right, I think it's running. Let me open up a browser really fast. Let's see if we can get to it. So we'll do HTTP localhost. I'm not sure if that's the port number. Let me see if I can see the port number here. Oh, port 8080, there it is. All right, let's get back here. We'll do colon 8080. All right, white label has no explicit mapping for /error. This is a fallback. We have an internal server error, which is not ideal. That's definitely not what we were wanting. We have a, So we do have a null reference problem, and so now I do have the problem that that we had here. So text is coming in as null initially. So let's just say if text equals null, we'll just return home directly. So let's stop this, restart it. All right, back here, we'll go back to 8080. There we go. So here's our form. We've got our text box and our submit button. So we'll say Chad's awesome test, submit it. There's the reverse. So that concludes the web application exercise in Java.